Greetings, everyone. Today, I'm going to do something sort of interesting. Although, wait, I don't really need the ink right away. So I'm going to actually start off with pencil. And I'm going to figure out kind of like a floor plan, but not really, of a log cabin. And we're just going to rough it in. And that's kind of it. I don't know if you can see that well enough yet. Not perfectly. But the idea here is that I'm going to build a box first. It's not going to be beautiful right away. Now, the reason why I'm thinking about this is my mother always liked log cabins. Now, she never had one, mind you. But my brother, after my mother had passed and she was cremated, he made kind of like a, can't really call it an urn, but basically a means by which for her to spend her final resting place, I guess, in a log cabin. And I thought that was pretty neat. So basically right now what I'm doing is I'm going to make sort of like a veranda. I just want to see what kind of space this thing's going to occupy. Because I'm going to have an overhang of the roof. I'm going to have things set back a little bit. I'll extend the length of the roof as well. But this is just to get a rough idea of how I want things to look. This will be part of the chimney. So that's kind of the rough idea of what I'm kind of aiming at here. Now, it's been 10 years since my mother had passed, or just about 10 years. And log cabins are still kind of cool. But I don't know if I'd really want to have a summer home as much as I'd like to travel more, if that makes sense. And I'd like to travel to different destinations. So I'm going to use some of the lines that I made to be supports for the roof. See if we can keep that in focus if that's at all possible. My siblings are pretty artsy. They do some pretty neat things. Now, I'm not going for perfect accuracy, by the way. This is just a rough kind of thing that I got going on here. We're going to have it so that the chimney actually makes its way out of the roof. Maybe, just maybe, we'll pretend that this is made out of, let's say, like river stone or something like that. Of course, I don't know if it's necessary to start adding in those kind of details, but we're doing it anyway. Roof trusses are kind of neat. Support, which is good. The log cabins, you kind of see them in different ways, truth be told. You get to see what might be gotta finish this off here. You get to see them fairly rustic, and then you get to see some pretty ornate things as well. And I think that's kind of the neat thing about them. just setting up a quick end-to-end look of what a log cabin might be here. So do slight extensions just for that effect. Do the same on this end over here. So yeah, when I think of log cabins, I probably think more about like pioneer times, if that makes sense. So like mid 1830s through 1890s maybe. And during that period, which would kind of be the Wild West of America, you can imagine that in other parts of the world, much more ornate things existed. But these were using specific types of tools, using wood from the land. So there would be hand-hewn logs. They would need to be fairly straight. There you go, that's kind of interesting. Now, I don't know if we need to have steps or if any part of this is elevated. So what should we do? Well, let's make some steps. Maybe the entire thing. For the frontage of it, would require some supports, something like that, just because the land might be a little bit elevated there. Some stepping stones for the landing here. I think that's roughly it. We'll speed through the rest of this. It's funny to think about what kind of crafts or building or, well, things get built. So I have to imagine that art, for the most part, is one of those things that you require time or money for. And that it was pretty rare for some people in survival mode to Basically, spend time doing art. So, like maybe during the winter, when you weren't bringing in crops and you're sitting around the fire just trying to stay warm, if you've already did all the hunting and you have food, maybe that's when you would do some artsy things. But until then, time wasn't really a frivolous kind of thing. I should say, doing art probably wasn't really like a frivolous, or was probably considered frivolous, sorry. And I wonder about that. Did they have time to do certain things? This has taken a little bit longer just to put in the shingles. I probably could have just went with a little bit of shading, and that would have given more than enough illusion of shingles being on there. But 16 minutes to get to this point, it's not that bad. Now we'll hide up in here with a bit more, and we'll throw some shade in there too for the overhang. So you probably wouldn't have wanted to put a lot of time and effort into a porch, which would just be a small room for your log cabin. Maybe I'm wrong, but that seems like a strange luxury to have. You wouldn't have really thought about rain gutters as much. Well, I don't mind that. Could have a tree back here. Fill it out just a little bit. Some squiggles. So as I said, yeah, my mother always kind of wanted one of those. Little log cabin in the woods. So, and other than the one that my brother built her, she didn't get that one in her lifetime, so. Another tree here. Now, as a bonus bit of information, my little sister and her husband, for a little while, lived in one that had a loft. It was pretty cool. But I can only imagine that some of the things about a log cabin require ongoing maintenance, and that can't be fun. So, in between all these logs, you have to make sure to do a lot of waterproofing because it can leak. Well, that's what we got, folks. A little log cabin. All right. I think that's it for now. Get rid of some of that pencil. And maybe for the next video, we'll see if we can just down from here. Maybe we'll do like a, I don't know, maybe a modern sort of version of one of these things. But how about for the final minute, we shall throw a little bit of water at this. I'll just make sure this little lake off to one side gets a bit more ink before doing that. Make sure that the shade gets thrown a little bit more. That way we'll keep the video under 25 minutes. I think that will be it. Oh, well, why not? Just for fun. Okay, folks, thanks for hanging out for a minute or so, and yeah, feel free to drop by again, and as I said, maybe we'll try some other sort of thing, maybe another little house, or I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, have a wonderful day.